I wanted to hear your perspective on this first. Uh, I wanted you to educate me first, so that's why I came on here.
How you want me to educate you if you told me to stop teaching it?
Right. Good point.
Sister, what do you think? What do you think of this capitalistic approach to NFTs and preaching?
All right, I just wanted to see if you was a troll or not.
Right.
All right, so anyway, good sister. Listen, y'all, I choose violence the whole year, so just don't complain.
I'm so happy about your NFT. I believe that you are. I'm sorry. I apologize for talking over you.
No, go ahead. So I wanted to hear your perspective on what you believe a high value woman is.
Okay. Well, I can speak from everything you said because we come from man, right? And so when y'all created us, you know what you wanted. Facts. First of all, and you said everything correctly. A high value woman should be a teacher first because her job is to her children and to her husband, right? Initially, right? That was her first role. So woman should always go back to her first role. And she came to man to nurture him. So her job is for man, first and foremost. A high value woman knows that her job is for her man. And whatever that man needs from her, she's going to be able to provide it seamlessly, completely, fully. Okay? That's a high value woman. A man will never have to worry about his woman. And that piece that a high value woman brings is way more than money. It's way worth more than money. It's worth more than time because peace gives you time.
So can you give me, not to cut you off, can you give me a characteristic?
Yes, she's kind. She's going to be happy. She's going to be joyful. And because she has her own mind, because a woman came here to be separate from man, but also to be for man. So she's going to be able to do so many things that are going to give her joy, peace.
I mean, I get what you. I know the comments keep saying we came from men. I get what you're trying to say, but I understand why the confused with that idea because I definitely came from a woman, but I understand what you're saying.
Right, but there's femininity.
Well, we came from men and women coming together. You understand? Because at the end of the day, I do be hearing a lot of people talk about women used to be able to have babies without men, but I don't know nobody that can do that.
That's not true.
No,
it's not
it's men
true.
and women. But I don't want to get into that science conversation right now.
Okay,
I really just
that would be
just wanted to talk about the initial conversation because that's a whole nother subject of hella different things. Because we always try to find what separates us. I want to have commonality. So the reason I'm trying to get to this point because oftentimes when we know what we want from the opposite sex, but we don't have standards for ourselves that we hold up for ourselves. You understand me? And this is why we don't have a lot of accountability and why it's hard for us to build families nowadays. We know what we dislike in the opposite sex more than what we know what we like, which is why we have the ability to dog and talk about toxicity, but we can't talk about what's healthy, right? So I want us to start remedying, and I think the good sister said it, like writing this down on what we actually believe are good traits within ourselves that will qualify us. Because some people don't realize that they unqualified for the person that they're going after, right? And that they shouldn't because you haven't to meet any qualities, you understand me, to where you should even be disrupting this person that you consider to be of value. Sometimes you just got to observe from a distance. You understand me? It's like a brother that knows that he doesn't have anything going on, right? Why are you trying to mess with this sis that do got a lot going on?
Right.
You don't have nothing to give her. You don't have nothing to provide for. You don't have a vision. None of those things. So both those things fall
It will be quite
on each other.
It's deceptive if a man is actually very deceptive for a man to come into a woman's life, like you said, without having the proper qualities. Just by
it's deceptive on both ends, is what I said. It's deceptive on the woman's end as well. So because I think society does a very good job nowadays at telling men what they should and shouldn't do and putting that out there, but women never have a list of items that they should and shouldn't do.
Right.
So I think that anytime you get a conversation that's lopsided, it's always going to leave somebody doing something wrong because they feel like they're better than the other. So there's narcissism that exists in the spectrum of men and women. There's ego that exists in the spectrum of men and women. But usually in society, because we live in a patriarchal society, we only deal with, right, the masculine aspect of it. We don't deal with the feminine aspect. So without dealing with it, men don't know how to deal with what's feminine in them, and women don't know how to deal with conquering and mastering their own femininity. So I think that that's a conversation that needs to be continuously had. But I appreciate you coming on and sharing perspective with us, though, good sister.
Thank you. You're bringing a lot of wisdom here, and I appreciate you bringing that conversation here as well. You're exactly right.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Now I'm really, you know, trying to get to a understanding myself of how we see ourselves and sort of just asking real questions. You understand me? It's not even 100% my perspective, because I think that a lot of these topics, we hate people for sound bites, and we don't even get to a point where we can break down a full dialogue and stretch out something in long form rather. And I learned that through, if you take a clickbait of a conversation I'm having with somebody, you take one piece out, man, the people is running through the comments with all kind of hate, but they didn't watch the full context and what was shared. And then I also think that there's certain things that just not asked in society because it makes one or the other uncomfortable or doesn't go along with the narrative. You understand me? But I think the narrative is mostly bullshit. And if the narrative is not creating more success and more progress, then the narrative is toxic in the first place, meaning that it's poison, that it's not good for it. You understand me? And I think that that's something that we need to change. Men need to be able to look in the mirror, and women need to be able to look in the mirror, right? I think that society has done a terrible job at helping women curate and become more self-aware in a lot of perspectives. I think that society is doing a better job at helping women be self-aware when it comes to sexual liberation and careers and ambitions, right, in certain positions in society. But I think from a mental health range and a becoming more of a comprehensively or spiritual and feminine woman, I don't think society does any curation of that whatsoever, almost, besides those who are of that spiritual community. You understand me? And those who do have sister circles that allow you all to have those conversations. But it's like with every community that forms and starts to form and gain power, most of the things happen internal, right? And so it's like the LGBT community don't all agree with each other, but their disagreements are internal. So they don't let the rest of the world see them break ranks on what's toxic inside of their internal conflicts. On the outside, there's a brand of it, pride and happiness and freedom and love, and everybody's love is love. But on internal, they conflicts, they don't agree with each other on a lot of different things. It's the same thing with the Asian community, the Jewish community. You understand me? The white community now be showing conflict. Of course, they go to civil war with each other these days. But they also can agree on things, you understand me, about white power and race and having power and things of that nature. And then you got the women community who have now formed based on the basis of their gender, right? And so a lot of the internal things are not being had. And I think it can become destructive in some capacities rather than constructive. You understand me? When we don't deal with the things as we making change. So we got to deal with our own shit as we shovel somebody else's in their face. Because at the end of the day, the basis, if it's not around Black family, I don't care about the individual progress. I don't care about the individual moves. Because then we just training ourselves to be like white men in society. Well, I get successful, I get my career, I get my money, I have my ambitions, then I'm good. And it starts to become like, it's not that you're trying to get rid of the structures of capitalism or patriarchal society, is that you want a higher position in it, right? And then that destroys the functionality, right, of us being attracted to ourselves, meaning that men and women being, and Black men and women being attracted to each other. So what makes a Black woman go seek outside her race to go find somebody else is that she lost the look for qualities, right? And because of the trauma in between that she's had with the relationships in between, the propaganda and all those things, she no longer believes those qualities exist inside her race. She can no longer see it. Same thing what a black man does. He starts to seek qualities. He say, well, the white woman is more submissive, right? Less questioning to him and things of that nature. And he stops associating those qualities with his woman. And then he becomes weakened because he doesn't want to go through the process of disciplining, strengthening himself, right? That allows him to grow into becoming a greater and better man, which is what a black woman does. A black woman gonna sharpen you. She gonna make sure you are who you say you are. And she not gonna allow you to come in with the bullshit. And other races of women might not be able to challenge you in that same capacity because they don't share the same perspective, right, of growing up in reality. They don't share the same perspective of your own potential. They don't have it in their DNA to understand that. So it's an interesting conversation because if we challenge men to grow back into their masculinity, we have to challenge women to grow back into their feminine nature, right? One without the other is lopsided. But today's society is challenging women to become more masculine, right? And challenging men to be more feminine. You understand me? And it destroys the attraction to each other. You understand me? And then we replace the concepts of family with career. And so when we look at the fact that our population size decreases in America every year, why is it that? We have high fecundity. You understand? Our sperms are working, but we have a high amount of contraceptive and birth control and abortion and a multitude of other different things that we do in our culture to kill life because we're not really trying to reproduce ourselves. And you have to think about where that mentality comes from. When a culture no longer wants to reproduce itself, it's literally saying that culture doesn't have love for itself. Because when you love yourself, you want to reproduce it. When you love something so much, you need to have more of it, abundance. You appreciate. And that appreciation is the growth in value. But we stop loving ourselves, so nah, you don't want to have a baby. Nah, you don't want to have a family. Nah, you don't want to produce more men or more women like you. Or more black men, or don't want to produce more black women. You understand me? Somebody said, name one thing that has made black men feminine. They say skinny jeans. No, it's not just about that. It's the characteristics that have been lost within a black man. It's the traits that have been lost, his willfulness, his ambition, his willingness to be a protector and a provider and a producer, right? And to be productive and to be a leader. Those are the qualities. You're talking about aesthetics and really aesthetics and fashion. Those things flip-flop as far as what's acceptable and what's masculine and what's not. Because in Africa, yes, you can wear a long garb and it doesn't have any pants like in European, and that's considered to be masculine over there, but feminine over here. So context matters. So each generation gets the context, what is masculine and what is feminine based on what's associated with the characteristics, right, and of the style that's being presented, right? So that's different. If we grew up and only the gangsters was wearing skinny jeans, we would associate that with being masculine, right? But I mean, you know, they did bell bottoms and all kind of stuff in the 70s, and them brothers were still masculine. So it's not so much about the clothing that's being worn, but the characteristics that have been lost. And this is where people start to look at things from a shallow standpoint, right? And so I'm gonna handle this too. They said, I'm Islam, a man is not supposed to wear gold. You said I'm Islam. I don't know about that because I definitely know that the women ain't supposed to have their legs out too. But at the end of the day, I told y'all before, man, you know, peace of Prophet Muhammad, you understand me? But at the end of the day, I don't follow out of rituals in that capacity. You understand me? Gold, I drink gold. I wear gold. I'm going to get those particles in my skin and within my body. You understand me? So, cut the BS. But anyway, we're gonna get back to it. We have to understand these things from deeper bases and deeper levels. You understand me? So women are being forced to be more masculine. Men